Did you want to get on the statements from the gallery?
Yeah. Do we have a statement from the gallery clipboard? I couldn't find it.
I know it is. I'll go back.
Okay. And the senator sign. No worries. I'm not able to reach her on the cell phone. I haven't heard anything from her. So
So I'm gonna consider chairing if William comes.
William's here, so and we have 4 now, so I think we're gonna go ahead and get this starting. So we're gonna go ahead and open this meeting today at 4:03. All right, we'll start with introductions, name, position, and pronouns. Amy, can you start us off, please?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kuma, Senator seat number 1. Pronouns are ED, please.
I'm Rincon Senator number 6, pronoun she, her, hers.
Amber Coleman, Senator number 3, pro temp, she, her, hers.
Della, Senator seat number 5, inclusivity officer, they, them.
Lida?
I'm Lida Herbiger, your advisor, or my pronouns, she, her, hers.
Thank you. All right, so that moves us to item number 2 of the agenda today. We're going to be approving the agenda as is right here. Is there anything that anyone had any questions on or wanted to add or remove from today's agenda? Amy?
Has anyone been able to read the minutes?
Yes, I went into the drive and I saw that we did have access of them. I read up until I think the last 2, so I'm prepared to approve a couple. Is anybody else prepared to approve any minutes?
I can at least go, the most recent ones I think that we got, I did review, so.
Because I wasn't able to get, I know it's in the drive, I couldn't find them.
Okay, so did you want to make a motion? Maybe next week we could just pull them all up and do it during the meeting.
How about we table it until the end?
I feel like we don't have to go.
Yeah, this is gonna be a very close meeting. We're gonna just want to push that for next week. We'll do all of
Yeah.
it together, but so if anyone wants to make a motion.
Yes, I will make a motion to table meeting minutes until next week.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to table the approval of minutes for next week's meeting, which I think is the 5th. And Amy seconded that. Is there any discussion on that? No? All right, so we'll go ahead and move to a vote. We're gonna be voting on whether or not to move the items of approval of minutes till next week, starting with. Yes,
Why?
not everyone has reviewed all of that is available, and some of the senators are not ready to approve still, and we have quite a full agenda, so. Anyway, yes, Amy?
I brought this up, it's only.
I was just noting it's been pushed off for multiple meetings.
Mhm. All right, so starting with the designated officers, William, Stella,
Aye.
let's vote aye. Amy,
Aye.
Fran?
What's the exact matter we're voting on?
On approving the minutes next week instead of this week, so.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so vote passes 6-6. All right, so is there anything else that anyone would like to change about the agenda today or add before we approve this agenda? Yes.
Could we table the staff restructure until the next meeting?
I would like to get through it, because it's been put off a few weeks now. Does it, anybody else, I mean, you're free to make a motion, I just don't know, Amy?
Yeah,
So, Madam President, what is staff restructure?
Isn't that
So all senators were provided a 2-page breakdown of what the structure was, or the restructure was, why it was occurring, etc., about 2 weeks ago.
we were partially waiting until you got back, because we've had some questions about it.
We're more than welcome to have those questions during the summer meeting as well, because those are pertinent to
Yeah.
the purpose of the SG as well. So having them in an open meeting is not a bad choice in this case.
So,
Yes, Amy?
so I was asking because I was able to talk to one of our staff member
Mhm.
who was concerned of losing their position because of this change. That's why. Are we gonna be making any motion to approve it or anything like that?
So I think that what we need to do is just look at it all together and discuss it and see what makes sense.
Oh.
I've reviewed everything and it looks like it's gonna all be for the better of the student government, and these positions that they're proposing is gonna help make things move smoothly and help a lot of people, so I think that it'd be important to have that discussion.
Point of order, the discussion you're having is about the agenda, not
Yeah,
the reason for
yeah,
doing this.
so,
Let's,
so again, if anyone wants to make a motion to remove something, we can go ahead and do that. If not, we're gonna go ahead and vote by dissent to approve this agenda. Yes, William?
so my motion to table the staff restructure until the next meeting.
Second that.
Okay. So there's a motion on the table to table the staff restructure until next meeting, and Adele seconded that. Let's have some discussion by the maker of the motion.
Yeah, so I just wanna talk with the president, ask question a little more, and, we didn't get to talk to her during last meeting, and we didn't get a chance to talk to her during the last work session, so I think it would be better if we just get a chance to talk here until the next work session, and then vote at the next, public meeting.
Brian?
I would strongly urge the Senate to understand that the restructure is largely executive prerogative to make those changes. However, the thing that I'm asking from the student government is the opening of a tier 1 position to allow for governing documents work for ourselves, the student government, and then secondarily for creating a support structure for the Council of Clubs and the Union of Unions when they come into ratification and or attachment to the student government. And that is the only part of the staff restructure that actually is the purview of the Senate itself for your consideration.
Della, did you have your hand?
So my only thought is I'm kind of curious why to table it, because this is something that did come up at the last Thursday Senate meeting. We were waiting for the opportunity to speak with our president. Our president is now currently here. And we actually have everybody.
I agree. I think that it makes sense to look at it. This has been put off, like you said, a couple of meetings already, and we have an open space with everybody here right now, and we have the time to do it. So I think that it would make sense, especially because it's already Senate old business, to go ahead and get this out of the way, especially if we could move forward and get things working for everybody as smooth as possible. This is just delaying it further. We were trying to get this done last week, and unfortunately that didn't happen. Is there any further discussion on tabling the staff restructure until next week at all? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and vote on tabling the staff restructure, starting with the designated senators. William,
Aye.
Della,
Nay.
nay. Amy?
abstain.
Aye.
So if that's a tie, then who, or
The
is that
chair.
to abstain? So I
Go
would,
aye.
so I could break the tie then as
Yeah,
a
you
chair.
voted.
No, you already voted, but the vice president is present and
Did
she
you
is
wanna-
technically the chair.
Yeah,
And so would hold the vote to table or not table in this case.
could you just, yeah, so we've been, for the last couple of weeks, we've been trying to get through the staff restructure, just to review it and everything, and last week we did table it for next week. For student government, there's just a couple things that Brian wanted to share with us, and it's already been tabled a couple of times, and that's why we needed to get it going. So anyway, we're voting, so we are breaking the tie on whether or not we should talk about it today or not.
Is it just we're talking about it? Discussion, right?
Discussion and possibly vote, I think,
Could leave it out of the
I think that it's really important to get this done, it's already been tabled for a few weeks now, and we can't move forward until.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so the vote passes, we're gonna keep that on the agenda, and William, did you, oh, you're here now. I was just finishing the voting process there, so now we're on approval of the agenda. And the only thing that changed was we're not gonna do the minutes. Okay, so everything else is ready to go. If you wanna approve the agenda.
Yeah.
So we're at item number 2, right? Approval of the
Yeah.
12%.
Yes.
Anyone has anything else to this?
I just have a question. I'm not sure, are we voting or we just discussing? On the restriction?
We could do either, there wouldn't be any voting unless someone made a motion to vote,
So you could have your discussion and you could table
we
the
could table the
vote.
voting even until.
Okay, yeah,
If
We
someone
don't
makes a
want to.
motion, right?
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we don't even have to vote, we're just gonna discuss, and then if someone makes a motion.
It's fine.
So,
I was gonna say, quick clarification, the passing of that motion means that the discussion for the staff restructure is tabled for how the motion was organized.
so I think that what you meant was the motion was defeated.
Oh, were you voting, I'm sorry, were you voting to do this discussion today?
No, to not do this discussion.
No, she was to do it today?
To leave it on the agenda.
Yeah, she was voting in favor of doing it today,
So the motion did not carry,
did not.
so it stays on the. Thank you.
Okay, I forgot to motion. Okay,
So where are we on the
so we're,
So this is-
Or-
item 4?
we're approving the
So
agenda,
we're
we're keeping it against it.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to add or remove from the agenda before we continue? Nope. Okay. Wait, so we're going for,
That's what I just said. So
Yeah.
now we're on the.
we're not
Four.
doing that. Okay, students from the gallery. Ooh.
Mindy?
Yes. How many minutes?
Stand here or today?
Anywhere,
You can sit,
wherever
you can
you
do
like.
whatever.
May I know how many minutes would it be? Do you think 5 minutes, 2 minutes?
I promise. This is an invitation. I wanted to come and personally invite you all and get as many students possible as we can. It's called Talk Back Titans. I set this up and we would like to have students come and talk about a possible increase in tuition and what it would look like here at Lane and what your thoughts are on it. We would like to show you what the higher education price index looks like and then how our tuition compares across the state of Oregon, what your tuition dollars would get you, and what your feeling on the matter is. I mean, it's Talk Back Titan because we want to gather your reactions and what it is that you would like to see happen. We would love to see 40 people. Maybe I'll have food. I don't know. You don't know. Come find out. But this will be Wednesday, March 4th. That's next Wednesday. It's at 3 p.m. You'll see these all over campus, I hope. And it's in Building 4, Room 105. So that's over by athletics. So we have table tents everywhere. And I personally would love to see all of you there and bring people with you so that we can get as much feedback as we can. We did this last week. It was this week. Okay, we did this Tuesday. It's been a long week. And one of our board members came. And so students were able to, they didn't have to go through me to get to a board member. I think that's incredibly valuable. So please, I'm going to leave this here with your chairperson or Okay.
I actually had a question. How
Yes.
long does it go?
How long would you like to be there? It's
Well,
generally-
I'm not
yeah,
able to get there until about
fine.
3:30.
It's about an hour.
Okay.
About an hour. We'll save you some pizza or something. You're fine. I would be thrilled to do that.
Thank
Yeah. Yeah. Are there other questions that I can answer? Yes.
And
I didn't hear the location.
It's building 4, room 105.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, of course. Any other questions on this one? Okay, I want to make sure that the student voice in input is heard. And I think the best way to do that is by asking students to come. So thank you all so much for your time and good luck in your meeting.
is there anyone else?
She's running fast.
Yes, Kathy.
Hi, I'm making a statement of knowledge since I'm supposed to be in class right now. But I have heard that there's confusion about the staff restructure. And so I was wondering if there's any way that I can answer questions on salary, is that a thing? No?
You could speak about it.
Sure, I'm happy to speak about it. It's so much more helpful to answer questions, isn't it? Amy mentioned that someone is concerned about losing their job essentially.
Yeah.
So it's not up to the Senate who works in the staff positions. And so if someone is no longer working in the staff position, we're gonna have somebody else working in the staff position. So that's what's happening there. The other thing on, I guess essentially, is this a fine time to run down
No.
my staff sheet? I just have to get back to class, so I'd love to like fill in. Okay. All right, never mind then. I can't answer questions right now, is my understanding.
If you like, write down,
You have a complete, like, piece of information I sent you guys a
I
couple of
wrote,
weeks
I
ago,
read all that.
but I keep hearing that it's getting tabled, so.
No,
It's not.
So, all right, well, my statement then is that it's really imperative for staff to move on. That Senate actually talks about this, and I would recommend making a decision today. That would be lovely for me. We've got a complete rundown, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenzie. Okay, so next, updates, OSCE, Osberg, you start with Osberg?
Everyone, my name is Marcella and I'm the campus organizer for Osberg here at Lane. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Got a lot of really cool updates. But folks that don't know Osberg, we're a student-run nonprofit on campus. We've been around since the 70s, and we work to train students to be effective activists while we run campaigns that focus on environmental and social issues. So our first update last weekend was our National Student Forum. So this was a nationwide event. Students from all across the country got to go to DC and lobby our elected officials. And we sent two students here from Oregon, and they got to meet with Representative Greg Walden, Peter DeFazio, Senator Jeff Merkley, and Senator Ron Wyden to talk about higher education issues and textbook affordability in particular. Also today, for higher education and textbook affordability, U.S. Prairie Education Fund released a groundbreaking report talking about automatic billing, like when colleges make a contract with a publishing company and automatically charge students for materials. The results of that study are, I feel like, not shocking. It's that it's actually harming students' wallets, and it's not saving them the money like has been promised. As for our particular campaigns, we've got a lot of updates as well. For 100% electric buses this week, we've been focusing on meeting with board members on the LTD board and talking with them about our campaign, getting their thoughts and sharing our work. And next week, we'll be doing a photo petition blitz by buildings 4 and 5. So y'all should stop by, get a picture, show your support to help tackle climate change. For our new voters project, last Friday, we were at a Barber's Community Art Show in Eugene, and we registered people to vote there. That was a really cool event that some students here from the school were putting on. And next Tuesday is Super Tuesday, so 14 states have their primaries across the country. So we'll be registering students to vote at a table, celebrating that, raising awareness about that important day. For For two other updates, for 100 homelessness, they went to Burrito Brigade last weekend and they'll be volunteering at the Youth Garden this Saturday. And next week for textbook stamping, it is Open Education Week. So there's a lot of events going around on campus about that. Everything we got going on. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Next we have the, ALSCCSG advisor.
The only update that I have for you is that we have been approved to rehire the position of Director of Student Engagement. So that will be happening once we get the process up and running. I believe that we still have Cameron on as appointed for the government to be the representative on that hiring committee.
LCC organizations clubs. Anyone has any update?
I think I have one.
Yes.
Does it have to be a credit from LCC?
Yeah.
So because I'm asking it because the BSU will be representing the BSU of London College and from the BSU of London High School. So, and they're also working on the Bomb Slam as well, and the Sister Summit all coming up for spring and March.
Yes.
So Council of Clubs as a whole is getting ready to organize their tabling event, which showcase all of the clubs available here on campus. That's gonna be on April 14th from 11 to 3 is the agreed time. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Any more updates? Yes, we
So I was gonna talk about episode. First we did the dance. One of our center actually was one of the person.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Dance, what?"
Yeah. And pretty nice. Is it like the Native American storytelling?
Yes.
Yeah. And NASA was like pretty nice. NASA is Native American Student Association. They donated $100 for us to help us kind of like fundraise a little bit. And also the same week we did Stamp Mississippi fundraiser. The student government gave us $250, so we raised $350 so far this term. We have $150,000 that, so I mean, it's like baby step, I would say. And we also went to Round One as a whole embassy chapter last weekend, which was pretty great. It's like our midterm bonding activity. We like to get together for midterm and pre-final, and we just did parasite screening today. About 5 members show up, and yeah, we're just trying to talk about getting more events done this term and next term, and we're trying to get more people, especially outside people, to get involved and potentially getting more members.
Thank you. Any updates? More updates for the clubs? Nope. Okay, next we have the Governance Council reports.
Government Council report.
Mhm.
I believe the Diversity Council is meeting tomorrow at 9. Yeah, 9 to 10, at least for me. So I'll be attending that tomorrow as well. And I'll be here next week for the report.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Is the governance meeting being held currently without somebody who is the assigned position in that? Because my understanding is governance council is not happening for the week.
Yes, Brian.
I was gonna say, it depends on which governance councils, because we're talking about the Lane
There
Community College.
are 7.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
Jesus.
7 councils. You're probably thinking governing documents.
Got
I
it,
was-
okay. Thank you for
If the chair
clarification.
allows, I'll also report. So the college council met here not too long ago, and they did their first reading of the second large proposal that the student government helped put together, which was the restroom bill for the campus that allows for non-gendered restrooms to be adopted across the campus, as well as include foot washing stations within at least one restroom in each building as it is available, to make it so that should a student need to, say, for prayer or anything like that, wash their feet, wash their hands up to the elbows, etc., they'll so be able to do so using as much of the current hardware that currently exists. That was passed through Facilities Council and had its first reading at the College Council, and then it should get voted on this next month. And that passed into college rules would mean that that is a requirement for all new construction, as well as updates to a lot of our spaces as well. Secondarily speaking, my name is officially up and in its beta testing, so all students can now change their names in your My Lane portal, which should allow, if you have a nickname, if you are trans and go by a different name than your legal name, and for many students, especially international students who I know use shortened versions of their names that aren't their legal names, this should allow all of those students, when we get into this next term, when you're called out for class roles, to have the name that you have chosen to be the one that is on that role when you're being asked about it. And it also protects our trans and non-gender conforming students from being outed in such cases.
Okay. Executive officer reports, so. You wanna go first?
I mean, yes and no. There's a lot on the agenda, and I actually just gave a large part of the things that I've been looking at and working on. There are a lot of small fires that we've been putting out within the student government and across the campus for different things, but I don't think that's noteworthy for taking away from any of the other agenda items, especially as I know there are many other people who should speak in this meeting.
Let's go for the senator reports. Senator reports.
So I guess, I don't know if this counts the club thing. So I am currently participating as tech member in the Remember Show, which is an evening of dance. It's about memory and dementia, and there is a portion in there that does address hardships within a home. And that's going on Thursday through Saturday. So tonight's our opening night. Tickets are by donation. So you can come and see the show at no cost or donate. It does go back to the dance education portion. So it does go back into dance. And beyond that, I'm mostly, one of the things I am happy to see that Titan Times is back. Actually, I did get that email. Because one of the things that I did have addressed when I was talking to a couple of students is the ability to reach out to students and know what's going on. And Titan Times in email was one of the things that they were actually using at the time before it kind of disappeared for a little bit. So there are a number of students that are really happy to see that back.
Thank you. Other senator reports? Yes, Emma.
So last week I was able to attend 2 events. The first one was from the DSU and it was about the 13th Amendment. And it was really interesting to learn that from the data from the movie that there are more people in jail here than, let's see, like, I think there are, like, compared to the number of people in the world that are in jail, more people are in jail here than anywhere else in the world. That's called mass incarceration. There's this history of anyone can be punished. Okay, you guys know the story. Then I also, but the good part of that evening was to attend the Winter Stories event from Apisu.
Was that the Native American stories?
Yes.
Yes. The piece of
That was a good side of it.
in that sense.
And I was able to learn that they use it as a way to keep teaching the younger generation, when it gets cold, like when outdoor activities are not really the things, I mean, the way they go about learning, they just stay in their houses and just share stories and teach wisdom. So that was really great. I get to enjoy some food.
Okay, thank you, Emmett. Any more Senator reports? Nope. Okay. Staff reports and committee updates. Staff reports. Okay. Committee updates. Yes, Brian.
As there currently isn't any pay set up for the chair of the governing documents committee, it has not met, which is part of the discussion later in the staff restructure.
So we'll go next to the Senate Board business. Budgetary update.
So I don't know if you got my message. The Senate, before doing any voting or anything on these funds requests, really wanted to know how much money we still had in funds requests, and we weren't able to have that information last week because our treasurer hasn't been given any of that information, so we were hoping you could give us some information, or somebody could let us know at least how much money we have in our funds request.
Do you want to pull up the budget, because that is
I was
public?
gonna say, has it been updated?
Where would I?
The one that was sent out to work session to have this general discussion, because I knew the Senate wanted to review the budget before they approved any sort of funds request, has been updated to the most recent information that I currently have. The main things that will still be getting updated from this point forward, as this is all
Did you?
direct expenses from
Yes.
November, will be the recompense line item is the main thing that has been hit beyond what is currently there. All expense reports, etc., have gone through except for a $250 ICO towards APSU for their Sven Mitsubi fundraiser, and then also for I think that's it actually. Pardon me. But yeah, if you click over to the events and support, which is the far rightmost tab on the very bottom.
Yeah, we're in really good position.
Down at the very bottom.
Yeah, there you go. You can see it there, but you can also see a full breakout if you wish to go to
There you go.
that piece as well. So funds request in the funds request item is still looking at about 28,000 for direct funds request. There will be some adjustment in the budget here upcoming, depending upon all of the rest of the things falling into their places. But this is what we have left within our events and support line item, which is about 25K.
Thank you, Brian.
Getting busy.
So.
I will directly note that the student engagement line item in that and a few other line items are in the negative for their budget. So we will be making some recommendations to the Senate in the next few weeks to make that corrected. And there are some other adjustments within the budget that the Treasury Officer will be bringing forward in the next few weeks as well, as we get everything straightened out.
Yes, Emmett.
To make those arrangements, we need to pull out money from the fund request to level them out.
I don't imagine so. We've made some corrections within some of the charges, and there were some charges that were misallocated to the student government that are being corrected. And that's some of the work that's been happening in the last few weeks, which direct line by line item I won't go over, but it's a lot of what has been eating my hours in the last little while.
Follow up.
Yes.
And we'll be replenishing our budget by the end of summer or spring.
So the budget is created on a projection from student fees for the entire year. So theoretically, the adjusted amount there, which was $185,000, is the expected budget for the entire student government for the year. However, we will be dipping into some of our bad credit reserves to make amends for some charges that came against the student government.
I guess my question is, are we going to get more funds when we are done, like when the student government?
Lina, I offer my time to Lina.
Thank you. The Student Activity Fee Committee has to meet and has to ratify the funding that they're going to send to the president, which will happen in April, and that's how much per student will come to student government. The president still has the right to change it, but then she will, when she's satisfied, she will take it to the Board of Education, who will vote and say, yes, this is the amount per student that you will receive. That money is for next fiscal year. And so when students start, excuse me, when students are signing up for summer and fall term classes, that's when you're going to start getting money. Students are still signing up for spring, so you still have some income coming in. So you need to understand the difference between the 185,000 projected budget, that's just what they think you're going to get, and what you are actually receiving due to enrollment.
Whatever money we have here is, okay, my bad.
You keep going.
Yeah, but whatever money you had there was when you worked off the projection of what your budget was going to be for the current year that we're in right now.
Okay.
Before we continue this meeting, just to remind y'all, everyone knows the rules here. So whenever you need to speak, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Lila.
Okay. William?
Okay. 2 questions. First thing, so since we have a lot of like difficulties with the, budget, as in like delay and we weren't sure if that's right. How do we know now that it's actually right? And is there like an audit to it? And then who to ask that?
That's fine.
What I'm at liberty to say to this open meeting at this time is that I've been going through line by line through a lot of the charges that were levied against the, it's called a FOAP, but the charge account of the student government, and assigning them to the correct buckets that they would have come out of. As of right now, with the exception of the events and support line item, let me rephrase that. The events and support line item is up to date with all funds requests that have come through the student government, which I know is what pertains to this direct discussion. But the answer to your question, and I would hazard characterizing it as a difficulty, because it is just us making sure that we're going through and being judicious with our money as students. But in all honesty, you will know because we have full record of all charges, which is the if you look at the budget, the bottom section is a ledger entry format to look at all charges that go against the student government for all spaces, and then a little bit of narrative as to what that is, to make it so that you, as senators, know what our funds are being used for, etc.
This way.
Second question. So if that means, let's say we use $30,000 of the fund request, then we couldn't give any more fund to other organizations, then is that right?
It's fine.
So you as the Senate determine how much is in each of those buckets. The budget that we are currently running off of ran from the previous years and the beginning of this year's projections when the budget was originally created. So we currently have $27,000 within the funds request bucket. However, you would be able to, as a Senate, move around budgetary line items until we are out of budget directly.
Any more questions? Nope. Okay. So we'll go to the next item, which is the site club funds request discussion. We'll start with discussion.
Do you want me to present this again, or would you like me to answer questions?
If they have any more questions from the work session, or anyone wants to go, like.
You can just like go and brief me because like we have already seen.
Sure. So the psychology club is asking for a sum of $4,100 to attend the Western Psychological Association conference that happens every year. The psychology club, since I've been attending it, has gone to this conference every year. We've been very lucky in that the school has seen it fit to send us to this. This is about 2/3 of the funds request, the other third being granted by the Council of Clubs, which was a $2,100 amount. And that is being added to the $400 that the psych club itself is adding to the overall bucket to pay for all of the expenses, the travel, the food, the hotel room, and a number of other minor charges, including registration and transportation on the ground once we're there. We are taking 4 officers from the club, our 4 most active members, so we can each get different experiences from that conference, gather 3.5 days of experiences, share them with each other at night, and then come back and share all of our experiences with the rest of the club and any other interested students once we return. That's been typically how we do these things in the past as well.
Does anyone have any more questions to ask? Yes, Wayne.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the psych club itself and what you guys do in the school?
Sure. The format that we have followed for the last couple of years is 1 week we watch a movie, and they're typically Hollywood movies. And then the second week after that, we dissect the movie from a psychological perspective. We try to bring, since last week we watched 1 Hour Photo, it was a Robin Williams movie from the early 90s, late 80s maybe, that has borderline personality disorders at its root. So we look at that from not a clinical perspective, we're not trained clinical psychologists, but we're all looking to get into that field in some regard. So we take our best swing at it and kind of bounce ideas off each other. Our president tends to be very studious in research and figuring out where things are right, where things are not right, and leads a lot of the discussions in that regard.
You said the psych club has done this every year. How many years have you guys been doing this?
I've been present to see it. Will be my 3rd.
And prior to that, you're not sure?
I'm not sure, but this has been the format, and our advisor has been around longer than me, of course, and she says that it has been kind of a tradition since before I started going.
When was psych club founded? Was it from you or
What's the question?
when was like the psych club started?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, so it's-
I've been
Before
attending
his time.
since 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Any more questions?
How many members? I'm sorry.
Yes.
How many members is in psych club?
On our roster, we have 30. Attending meetings, we tend to have between 4 and 8. Oftentimes, it kind of varies with what movie we're showing, what the term schedule looks like, and how many of our members can actively attend.
Yes.
I'm really concerned about the time, so
Um,
Make a motion to vote for the
I-
budget
it says
approval.
discussion, yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the funds request for the psych club.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so the motion is on the table from Ember to approve the funds request from the psych club, and that was seconded by Della. Any more? Yes.
I'll just wait for discussion.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say any more discussions?
I was just gonna say that we, even with doing this, we would still have over $20,000 in our funds requests, and we started the year with, I believe either 30 or a little under 30,000, we still haven't even, we still have quite a bit, and we're almost halfway through the year, and it sounds like this is a tradition for the psych club. I wouldn't wanna be the group to not allow them to do this, and Shauna had also mentioned that there might be some funds coming back to us if they don't spend it, so we could very well, more than likely, see some of this money back. And I would like to send some people that are interested in being part of the club actively to go do something fun. So,
Education.
So we're voting?
Yeah, well, yeah, I care about like student involvement and participation, and I know I'm like one of the sponsor of this thing. The reason I asked the question is because I want to make sure that the $4,000 that we invested is actually, good, and like I'm confident in voting on that. That's why I'm asking all these questions. And I would like to ask more, but
Oh, we got a lot.
There's a motion on the table.
Okay. Amber,
Oh, no, I'm just ready. Oh, we're starting for voting. Aye.
okay, Della,
Aye.
William,
we voting on?
Yeah.
Abstain.
Emmett.
Yes, ma'am.
That was good.
Father, Rin. Yeah, vote passes, 5 ayes and 1 abstain. Yes. Okay, so the next item is the study jam, funds request, discussion and voting.
I would like to make a motion to approve the funds request for the study jam.
I second that motion.
I was gonna say, you have somebody from the city down here.
I've already talked with her. I know what I'm.
So we have a second, so I mean, I guess you could be part of it.
We can.
Let's just have a minute or two, just briefly, so that other senators can know more about that.
Okay, so I'll let you know that, my name's Cynthia, I work in this library at the circulation desk. And I've been there 7 years, and a couple years in, we started staying open before finals, tested different nights and later. But it wasn't until a student inadvertently brought it to my attention that the reason people weren't there was because they didn't have food. And he had come back from getting a sandwich from sequential, he had a car, a lot of people are on buses. So I started encouraging our team to at least peanut butter and jelly or something. Maggie Wright, who's our OER librarian, luckily came at that time, and together we started getting food into the event, and over time, I'll just cut to the last one, and we've been doing it a few years. We have Trackdown Pizza enthusiastically donates pizzas, and they also give us additional pizzas for $10 a piece. We get food from Costco, fruits, veggies, meat, cheese, snacks, a lot of extra food to try to, with dietary differences, and drinks. And we also have the Tutor Central is there. And this last time when we closed at 8, both of our rooms, the classroom and the biggest study room, were full of students being helped with the tutors up until the end. And also our line last time, I don't know how many of you have been in the library, but it started at the makerspace and went, and not to a line like this, but a line like that, all the way out the other door. So we easily had over 100 people. And and we also give out study tips and things to help people during the study week. I want to thank you too for your willingness to do this. This event is like one of the most rewarding one for me, because the students are so grateful and they appreciate the food, and we have people that tell us they haven't eaten all day and or that they're hungry, and this is the greatest thing. And they eat the food, and some may leave, but a lot of them stay and study quietly for a couple more hours. So I think I covered everything, but I just appreciate your support, and it's a wonderful event that is growing in numbers every time we have it. So even with the the enrollment, it's still been very successful. And the money goes for food. There's very little, to do these flyers and things like that, but it's all about the food for the students. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
And we encourage any input and collaboration on ideas that anybody has to make it better. Because every time we have it, we look at what we've done and see where we could make it better. And we love having input and collaboration from students. Thank you.
So I have a question. Is it just for one day, or?
So Yeah, so far it's one day in the week before finals, and my hope is that someday, because I know when I returned to school here 20 years ago, I either went to school Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So I would love to see it open up to at least 2 days, so we capture the, yes, and so that's the hope and dream for the future. But so far it's one night. Last spring, I think, student engagement helped put on a second night with snacks and food. But it's once a term, 3 terms a year, and Track On Pizza continuously, involves themselves in that event for 3 terms.
Discussion? Yeah, the reason I had made a motion to do this, because I think that I've personally seen a need for the extra food and things like that, because it does go very quickly, and there's a huge turnout, and I can see it being an even bigger turnout. And us as the Senate, we're here for events for the students, and they're putting on this event. I don't see why we couldn't help fund this. I would honestly like to see a line item saved every year to do at least 250 every term for the study jam, so we can help support them and maybe grow that extra day with them or something in the future. So, yeah, I'm in full support of this.
I'm also in full support. I actually think I don't understand there's been discussion about this term, seeing how it goes. I'm also in favor of potentially continuing this on as a collaboration between student government and study jam. I myself have personally partaken in the study jam, and it's been a huge boon to me. And I've been there when the line was out the door. From what Cynthia said, like my observations do hold up that a lot of people did remain at the study jam to stay. So it is something that seems to be a great boon for students as a whole.
William?
Yeah, I think it's such a great idea, but my question is the fund request for this term, or is it, term, like, continuous?
It's Friday.
So the funds request that is before you is actually to enshrine it within our budget to be a $250 per term for fall, winter, and spring for student government coming forward.
Any more questions?
Just to speak on our budget, I think we can definitely support this, so I think that it would be really good necessity this for students.
I make a motion to approve the funds for the 250 per term.
I think we already have
We already had the motion on the table.
That's
so
what I
really
thought.
This was just a really
Oh,
long
oh,
discussion that we were bringing.
Della,
Sorry, I forgot.
point of
You're good.
information,
All right, voting. So,
call the vote, that's what you.
call the vote. Okay. So I make a motion to call the vote.
So we can-
Is that what we're doing? No. Okay. Call the vote.
Just
We'll start with Amber.
Aye.
And then, Dylan.
Aye.
William.
Aye.
Emmett.
Aye.
Father.
The biggest eye here.
Rin. Ayes. Well, passes.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. Thank you so much. It means a lot to everybody, so.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Not
much.
May, March 11th, and we're gonna get these up and around, so I'll leave some here, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing great things.
Okay, so next we have staff restructure. Discussion. Yes, Dylan.
So I had a question about the mixing the sustainability coordinator. When I was at a last SAFC meeting, there was some discussion in pertaining to funding one of our on-campus clubs and potentially removing that funding because of a sustainability coordinator. But we have it here that we would be removing that sustainability coordinator. I would like to understand what's happened since that transition.
Can you just like separate that a little bit so we can just like have more space, please?
I'm at a weird.
I was gonna say, y'all are live streaming, so.
I mean, just
We just thought you really liked each other a lot.
So I can definitely give some narrative as to why we're making some of these changes. So this isn't necessarily nixing it. There was a follow-up email concerning this directly. which was looking at the fact that if I am perfectly fair, in my own capacity, I do not necessarily have the ability nor the unction to be able to oversee a sustainability position and sustainability work on this campus, which is very much needed. However, is not in my top priorities as your executive. What I will say directly is we aren't nixing the funding for this position. We're merely moving it over into another one of the positions that we're looking at. And that's what I wanted to let the Senate know is I want to be as transparent as possible for the changes that are affecting your the executive staff, because these need to be open discussions that we have. Originally, when we opened the sustainability position, we were looking at, how we can, as a student government, do more sustainability work. The issue that came into it was a capacity issue. And as you have seen, especially in this last week, my own capacity has been at a relative maximum. And so that is the same with some of our staff and some of our administrative assistants as well. So one of the biggest things is refocusing down on our top priorities, which for me has always been creating more connections across this campus, which in this case, this line item moves into funding of the internal document specialist position. And this allows us to, as the Council of Clubs has voted to begin integration and our integration discussion with the student government, and all of the identity unions have stated that they will join a union of unions for our inaugural meetings, we will need assistance available to create any sort of governing documents for those clubs and organizations to make them more stable as well. And I think that it is imperative that we as a student government, especially with that as our focus, have that support available in our own staff, in addition to our own governing documents and bylaw changes. So it's refocusing us down to, in essence, what my as the executive core mission is.
Questions, discussion?
So the other thing that I wanted to clarify was, so one of the positions, or one of the things that we were wanting to address is getting the governance documents taken care of so that they can continue on with their work. We do see here that there's a proposal to compensate accordingly for work completed in the month of January, as well as full month for February. So give or take about 6 weeks of work.
Right.
How what would that look like? Is there already a set cost that we know that that's going to reflect, or?
That's right.
So that's why you, as the student government, or as the Senate, have already created that earmarked dollar amount for the sustainability position. That vote went through, I believe, to begin in the beginning of February. So this would just be us moving that earmarked fund amount into an earmarked fund amount for that fund amount. I don't know. Oh, so within our budget, we expanded the recompense line item to include the sustainability position. And what I'm saying is we'll take the money for the sustainability position.
I don't know the dollar amount.
Oh, pardon. It's payable for $400 a month.
Is that, okay, I thought that was for a different position.
No.
Okay.
And the amount that was originally put into the student government recompense line item when we consolidated the HBCU tour dollar amount, when that came back to us, was right about $2,500, I believe.
I would like to make a motion to approve the creation of a tier 1 position payable up to $400 a month for this internal document specialist.
I will second the motion.
So Amber makes a motion to yes, Amber makes a motion to oh yeah, for the tier 1 position, payable up to $400 per month. And that was seconded by Della.
So I think it makes sense to do this. Our executive's telling us it makes sense to do this. We already have the money setting aside for a position that's not being filled. It would make sense to move it to a position that's actually gonna be used and benefit the students and benefit the school. And, we have a lot of things to get through today, so I think that, it would make sense to approve this at this point.
Yes,
I also support it because we've already seen the work, like in our Senate meetings that has been done by the governance documents with the changes of bylaws, with the constitution that we approved last week, the week prior? Week prior. So we already see the work that's being done, and so in particularly, this, my understanding is that the governance committee was being paid prior, and there's been kind of a mix-up in that, so getting that, see this kind of, especially with getting moving forward to the big one again.
Thank you.
go to vote. Amber?
Aye.
Della? William?
Aye.
Emmett?
Aye.
Fulton? Rick? So it passes. 6 and 6, right? Okay.
Thank you.
We'll go next to the Senate new business. We'll start.
So isn't, if I recall, we are also one of the staff positions is for the COC chair to be moved under.
Right.
That is merely narrative for the Senate. There will be no effect to payment or any structure, and this was one of the original intents of that position when it was originally created. So we will just be making a make whole basically that position.
So we'll move into the new business. Yes, Emmett?
So merging the COC that you mentioned, so we don't have to, we don't have anything to say about that?
I mean, right?
So you can voice those opinions concerning the COC. The biggest way that that would come into effect is when we make adjustments to our bylaws to have the Council of Clubs become part of the student government as well. But if you have direct concerns, I'm more than happy to have a conversation about it. Because this is one of the things that I've been championing, working on since the beginning of fall term.
Okay. We'll go to the GDC chairperson compensation and back pay discussions.
I was going to say, with the approval of the staff restructure, this does not need to occur as we will make whole the governing documents committee chairperson as part of the staff restructure.
Wait, so now we, yes.
Point of clarification, did we approve the creation of that internal specialist of government, or did we approve for the whole structure? I yield the rest of my time.
That would be dependent upon the motion that Amber made.
What was your motion?
So I actually just made a motion to approve that tier 1 position for 400. I didn't make a motion to approve the whole staff restructure. Maybe that's. Would it? Yes, direct question. Would it benefit the student government if we did make a motion to just approve the entire staff restructure?
The last line within the adding the support of the internal document specialist was to do the back pay for work completed for this term.
So when I did read that part, so I think we're covered then. So that was my motion because I read that whole bottom line and
Okay.
said to include this part. So we're good then. So we did do that.
Yes, Brian.
Then for point of clarification, I think that this back pay compensation line item within the agenda is moot.
Yes.
The GGC. So we go back, we go next to the Senate applicant.
I am, after seeing all this, still ready to go.
Yeah.
to the Senate, I would like to introduce Serenity, who has completed the full Senate application. The copy of the first page was sent to all senators for review prior to this point in time. Serenity, you will now be interviewed by the Senate, and they will do consideration for ratification. And please, if you want to start by introducing yourself, full name, your pronouns, and why you want to be part of the Senate, I think that would get the discussion rolling.
Okay, my name is Serenity Greenleaf, pronouns she, her. I just wanted to join the Senate because I want to help people. Specifically around self-defense because I actually am an underage student. I'm just turned 18 and I have other students that are in the same organization that I'm in that have been stalked on campus. So I want to put an end to that.
Questions?
So I'm curious about what are you actively participating on as a student in campus outside of what you're studying?
I'm a full-time student at Wayne, so I'm taking 5 classes, 13 credits right now. I get emails from Mossberg. I haven't been able to volunteer with them yet, but I'm hoping to soon. So I'm just trying to think. What have I done? So the organization I'm a part of is Baker Early College, so I'm still a high schooler. I get concurrent credits. So yeah, that's what I do.
And we're doing that.
What's your major?
I'm going for my AOT, but I want to major in biology when I get to UVO, pre-med.
Is this your first term at Lane?
No, this is my 2nd year.
William? Father?
How exactly you think being a center of the student government is going to help people in your age or younger?
Well, I can represent them because I know what they're going through and I know, the, early college programs, and I've kind of gone through some of the same things myself. I've had a student on Lane's campus help me. So I just want to be here to represent the people that can't speak for themselves.
Can you be more specific about what you mean by being like represent them? Like how are you gonna represent?
Well, I want to speak to other students that are at Baker to find out what their experience was because when I first started running, I didn't know that other Baker students had the same experience I did. But as I was running, I talked to, or as I was getting the petition signed, I ran into someone who goes to Baker and I told her what I was trying to do. And she said, oh yeah, I have a friend who's been stalked multiple times on his campus and I'm hearing reports like that from other Baker students. So I just want to talk to them first and I'm sure that adult students are having the same difficulties as well.
William?
Could you explain a little bit more about the stalking problem here at Maine?
Yeah, I don't know a ton about that, but what happened to me personally was I was talking with a guy who was older than me and I was explicit about that. I said, I'm under 18, I am not interested. And we hung out one time and he groped me on campus. And I know that other underage students and adults are having the same experience and I want to stop that.
Yes, William?
So what would be the first thing you would like to do to address the problem that you said?
Well, I've always participated in self-defense. When I went to high school, I was going to A3, and one of the teachers there, Sam Kropp, runs Warrior Sisters. So I was thinking about talking to her and having some more consistent trainings out here, and maybe trying to do a pepper spray training out here, and maybe just pamphlets about sexual assault, and informing students more about what was it, Title IX? Yeah.
We have Amber and Della. No. Okay, Della.
I'm curious how it's thought that joining the Senate member is going to further the self-defense and the pepper spray trainings, all of which I think are very beneficial activities and trainings. How would being a part of the Senate though support that vision in coming to fruition?
Can I have something?
From the school of London, finish first.
Just having, being here and hearing the conversations that are going on, and just being informed, I think. And if my fellow students see me as a senator, someone with a position of power, they might be more willing to talk to me. And, being here might give me a little more leeway to be able to do things that I want to do.
Do you know that, and if Brian can correct me with that, or our advisor, I believe that you need papers or certificates that prove that you have this experience to train students your age.
It's Brian.
I mean, what is being asked is that they be able to start some of these projects and to bring these onto this campus, which I think is what they're looking at trying to do from a project standpoint as being the point person to make those projects happen.
Yes.
Amber. So first of all, our public safety office, I'm not sure if you've worked with our public safety office. I know at least once a year, if not once a term, they hold a self-defense class, all day long course. I think it would be really interesting to see some students, bring in more students to that. Typically, it's all of the officers just playing with each other. So
Could you restate that?
training with each other. So I think it's a really good idea, and I see what you're saying. There's a little bit of lack of safety policy and some concerns there. My question to you is, do you have any leadership experience or any experience organizing any events like this in the past? Or
I haven't organized events in the past, but I have been active in the social justice community. Like I said, Sam Kropp at A3 was one of my teachers. And I've done a self-defense class with her, and I go to Warrior Sisters occasionally. Whenever there's a protest going on, I'd usually try to join it in like freshman and sophomore years of high school. And she had activism classes where we would write elevator pitches and look at different social justice issues in Eugene.
so are you interested in doing social justice work with students as well as helping support self-defense and like safety awareness?
I would be, yes.
Ms. Williams.
So, you said you do high school, right? Is that full time?
I take concurrent credit, so essentially I go here and I get high school credit. So I'm a full-time Lane student, so I'm just on Lane's campus.
Gotcha. Do you have any jobs or other extracurricular activities?
Yes, I do. I babysit every other Friday, although if I join, I'll be stopping that so that I have more time to be here. And I volunteered at Sarah's Treasures. It's a thrift store with cats, so just taking care of the cats and helping people out.
So I know this isn't a question, but I wouldn't say just quit your job on Fridays because of us. We only meet
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there's more than enough time to get your couple hours back. outreach and being ratified.
Just with like the obligations of being a full-time student and doing this on top of that, and it just wasn't, like, I was doing it out of kindness for my neighbor, sort of, so it wasn't a ton of pay, and just wanting to do other things as well, like join psychology club. So
I just wanted to say that this was getting a little bit too personal.
I was gonna say the same thing, to be honest.
William,
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask the last question, Sandra. Many students on campus still feel marginalized and unheard. For example, student of color and international student. What will you do as a senator to make sure that these group of students are better represented in student government?
That's a hard question. I just hope that I'm someone that people can talk to. I went to all my classes and said that I was running for student government, so I'm gonna be a parent that I'm here, and that if anyone has any issues, that they can talk to me.
so did anyone recommend that you to join here, or do you push yourself?
I did have a recommendation, yes. I joined, that's something that I forgot to mention. I'm a part of TRIO and CAR. So as I was joining TRIO, someone recommended that I join, because I said that I wanted to help people around campus and get to know people a little better.
I think there are no more questions, right? Is there? Yes, Emma.
So I just want to put out there that in the past, the last couple times that we've had a ratification or an applicant, we've ratified and voted them in at their time of interview. That's not something that we need to do. We could always think on it if anyone had some more questions or wasn't ready to do that. But with that being said, I would like to make a motion to ratify Serenity into the Senate.
Seriously, I second the motion. Good lord.
So Amber makes a motion to ratify Serenity, and that was seconded by Della. We'll start a vote. Discussion? If anyone, yes, William?
Yeah, I think it's very awesome that especially like high school, like grade students. And I think it's gonna be a good perspective for student government to make sure that we have diverse student pool that representing students and getting different voices,
Yeah.
to the student government.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Ella?
I'm encouraged, one, like, especially for somebody who is coming from high school and working college, that is not an easy feat. The fact that you have already had people reach out to you, to let you know kind of their personal experiences. I do also find it valuable that as somebody of that youth group, that younger students who have been in similar positions, be able to know and say somebody that they can go to is actually very valuable. Because I know that many of us, we have those who are comfortable coming to us for our varying positions. I know that I'm not talking to many people, and I didn't even know that that was a part of the campus. So I think that it's actually very beneficial.
Thank you, Della. Okay, we'll start, ready to vote? We'll start with Amber.
Aye.
Della,
Aye.
William,
Aye.
Emmett,
Abstain.
Father,
I was staying.
Ren? Okay, so 4 aye and 2 abstain, vote passes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have the Senate meeting dates for finals week.
Wait.
So,
I'm sorry.
so typically every single meeting we just have scheduled for a Thursday, and I know that a lot of people kind of plan vacations and things like that the week before, the week after spring break, and then we have finals week and stuff, so I think it would be really beneficial to look at this, because I know, like back in February, we ran into where we had scheduled a Senate meeting on Valentine's Day and stuff like that, so I just didn't know if maybe us as a Senate could get together and possibly vote on the next couple meetings and just see where we're at, just so we can have a plan, if everybody's okay with that, if not, we
For
can
like,
adjourn. I just wanna get ahead.
so are we discussing that this one, or are we wanting to workshop that?
I think we'll just,
I just wanted to get it.
Okay, so it's.
I mean, if that's okay, because we have a little bit of time here. So I definitely have one for March 5th, okay? So that's our next one. And then, so finals week, I'm told is the 16th, but does anybody have any issues the week of the 9th? That week, does anybody have any finals or anything that's gonna conflict on a Thursday? So we'll do a meeting on the 5th and the 12th. And then, so that week of the 19th, we're not gonna be doing a meeting then, because that's finals week? Or do we wanna do a meeting the
That's
finals week?
Yeah, yeah. 16th, yeah, from the 16th to 20th.
Is that finals week?
Yep.
I'm asking.
It is,
It is?
I can confirm that from the 16th to 20th, that is the final week.
Okay. Yes. So does everybody wanna do a meeting on finals week, or would everybody be okay with not doing a meeting on finals week? So I'm gonna make a motion with all these dates on here, but I'm just trying to get a consensus. So are we okay with skipping the 19th meeting?
yes, Brian.
Point of procedure, you can always ask for you can't ask for a vote until you make the motion, but you can ask for a temperature check, at which case the senators would thumbs up, thumbs side, or thumbs down.
Okay,
And
so
sort of,
can I please have a temperature check for the 19th,
Wait,
as far as,
do you want us to skip it or not skip it?
Yeah, Claire.
so thumb up would mean we're gonna have one, let's do thumb down would mean no. So temperature check for the 19th, week of finals, meeting, yes.
اسبوع الامتحان final fee. كمل. Okay.
Okay, so I guess we're definitely on the 12th. Definitely, so,
Yes.
Do we usually have anything on final week? Like,
no, so I would prefer not.
Okay, cool. It's like,
So it looks like that's, and then when does spring break? Does anyone know when spring break is over
it's the
that?
following week, so it's all the way from the 21st and the 30th, is the first day of the new term. March
30th is.
Yes.
So the 27th, we're definitely not gonna be doing a meeting. So it looks like we're only gonna have to vote on whether or not we're gonna have one on the 19th. Yeah. Okay, so I would like to make a motion to cancel the meeting for the 19th on the week of finals week.
I'll second the
Yes. Okay.
So there's a motion from Amber that to cancel the meeting on the 19th, which is finals week, and was seconded by Ren.
So
Yes, and
I have a concern of making, that motion. Does it prevent us from having like an emergency meeting if we need to?
yes,
no, it does not at all. The Senate can call an emergency meeting so long as an agenda is created 36 hours before the meeting date in a clearly posted place.
And also, I wasn't making a motion to cancel our workshop that week, so we could still do our workshop, and if something comes up at the workshop where we need to do a meeting that week, we could always schedule a meeting that workshop day,
On that same day?
or for Thursday, for that Thursday even, or we could
Well,
just.
that's Monday, it's 36 hours.
yes,
Can we do an open meeting on Tuesday rather than Thursday?
yes, Brian.
That is entirely up to the Senate and within its power.
I know, so I don't know if we have the boardroom on Tuesday, but we could do, right, is that correct? So we wouldn't have the boardroom, I don't know if we could have an official Senate meeting without a boardroom, but
Of course you can.
good, I'm sure we could.
As long as you post the location.
Yes, we could decide on
Okay.
that Tuesday if we want to do some official business. We could always get some voting done if we need to that day and see fit.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, to vote.
So,
Fair enough.
Amber.
Aye.
Dylan.
Aye.
William.
It's no meeting on Thursday, we're calling it.
On the finals. Emmett.
I want to try to make. So I'll just abstain. I don't know how I feel about it.
okay.
Father.
So five, yeah, I want to say,
Vote passes.
Are we done with the meeting today?
Not yet.
this is
Yes,
Point of clarification. So there was something that was misspoken at last discussion, which is that if you as a Senate decide, or if you're pro temp as the leader of the Senate or the vice president, the chair of the Senate, decide that they're going to have that open meeting, it must be decided 36 hours per Oregon meeting law, and the location, the time, and the agenda posted.
So if we're gonna do that, it sounds like for that Tuesday, we would decide then on the 12th, probably at that Senate meeting, whether or not we wanna do something.
I just mentioned this idea in case we need it to, so.
Yeah, so if something comes up that week before, we'll go ahead and add it
Yeah.
36 hours in advance. All right, so that's it.
anything else, Bella?
That basically answers my question.
Not done yet.
Like,
So, the time and place for next meeting is 5th of March, 2020, 4 p.m., building 3, room 216. Does anyone have anything before we adjourn? Yes, Frank.
I'm just holding your time. No, I wanted to say thank you to the Senate. There's been much more engagement within these Senate meetings in the last month and a half that I've seen out of many Senates prior, and I really appreciate the amount of time that you all are putting into reading the things that we're looking at and doing direct votes and the narrative, et cetera. So thank you very much.
I'd like to yield my time to Shauna.
Yes.
Since the governing documents position seems like it might actually be paid at some point, these meetings can start up again tomorrow at 4 o'clock, immediately following the SLC meeting in the student government room. In the assumption that the work session, I have some time to address with everybody and bring staff together, we can actually discuss a time where everybody can, who's interested to be involved, can be present at those meetings as well.
Does anyone have anything else before we adjourn? To add, to say? Yes?
I don't have.
So, meeting adjourned. Is that what-
Meeting adjourned.
Woo,
All right.
5:30.
Yeah.
And a 1 hour
Hey,
work
Everybody wants
session.
to come to
Woo!
the-
Go Layla.
Yeah, it's tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday.
You should have been here last week. Our meeting was 40 minutes long.
So it starts at 7:30.
Every day at 7.
I'm sorry, I was.
Stop. No, you probably shouldn't have been here. It would have been quick. Should we get someone to get the?
Right into the bus.
Hold on.
I'm trying to remember that.
Are you like running to the bus or something?
Is that where everyone's going?
I have no idea. Everybody get on.
They're both